Please welcome Elizabeth Ploshay.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for this opportunity to present today. I am actually presenting remotely from Washington, D.C., but I've heard that you guys have already had a really successful conference, and it's really great to see campus activity and also Bitcoin growing in the Midwest. So today I want to talk a little bit about why Bitcoin, why it makes sense for you to get involved in this movement. And I hope from this presentation you're empowered to, not just learn more about Bitcoin, but get involved. So specifically, I'm sure you guys have had an overview of what Bitcoin is today, but I want to just, encapsulate it one more time into simple terms. I generally say that Bitcoin is a digital, decentralized, peer-to-peer cryptocurrency. So it's digital, meaning that it's all online. There's no paper money, no physical cash. It's decentralized, which is one of the best aspects of Bitcoin, in that there's no central bank or government controlling the currency. And this means that it's all a peer-to-peer trustless system. So basically, it's a community movement that is very, very secure. Another element of Bitcoin is that it's a cryptocurrency. It's much more secure than any of the other currencies we're using because it's based on complex cryptography. So why should you get involved in Bitcoin? Well, there are a number of reasons. You, being a student or an attendee of this conference, have an ability now with this currency to send money to anyone around the world just with internet connection. I don't know about you, but that's phenomenal to me. Since I've gotten involved in Bitcoin, I've been able to get connected to people around the world. I've developed friendships with someone in Botswana. I've been able to send her funds instantaneously with Bitcoin. I'm trying to think of how difficult that would be to try to wire her funds with US dollars and convert it into the Botswana Kula. So another aspect too about Bitcoin, which is great, is that there's a 0% transaction fee. And when you're using a service like BitPay, which I'll talk about later on, there's still a 0% transaction fee because we just simply want to process payments for free. Another aspect about Bitcoin which makes it so unique is cutting down remittance fees. So one of the biggest things that is difficult with current and traditional money is, again, sending money overseas. A lot of people come to the United States, for example, to earn money and then send money back home. Sometimes they lose up to 25% of those funds just in transaction fees. Well, with services like BitPesa, Bitcoin enables an individual to send money overseas with less than 3% transaction fee. So it's huge for remittance. And then obviously another aspect about Bitcoin is that it really is a way to promote global financial inclusion. Literally, there are people around the world who simply do not have access to bank accounts. And the best thing about Bitcoin is you don't need a bank account to have access. And you can literally get connected to the global community. And finally, individuals obviously are always looking for a way to have a store of value. And with Bitcoin, there is inherently an ability for a store of value. Bitcoin is not subject to inflation. And I'm sure you guys are aware from talks this morning that there are only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever enter into the ecosystem. So that makes this system just more perceptive to a value proposition. With currencies around the world, inflation is running high. For example, in Argentina, individuals do not know what the value of their currency will be when they wake up in the morning. But with Bitcoin, there's an ability for long-term gain. So why BitPay? Again, and why would you want to buy something with Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is a push payment system. So it's very different than anything else that we've seen before in that it's all online, like you could buy some with a credit card online, but there's no risk of, say, credit card fraud or identity theft because it's sending out outbound payments. There's also no risk of a chargeback on the end of the merchant. And the cool thing about payment processors like BitPay is that you can accept payment in Bitcoin but receive 100% back in fiat currency. So again, elements of Bitcoin, digital, decentralized cryptocurrency, there's no risk in using it, and that is a push payment system, so you're not compromising your identity, and it allows individuals to have global reach. So why are all these factors important? I would say, again, Bitcoin is not just a currency, and You can even just see the dialogue that regulators have had towards Bitcoin in the US and globally. There's just a sense of what is this? It's not a currency. And I would, argue to say that it's beyond a currency. Bitcoin is more of a movement towards social, political, and economic freedom. It's a technological platform that has never been seen before, and has given us an ability to really reach people around the world. So some elements of, taking Bitcoin to the next level for good would be the area of charitable giving. One of the areas that I'm involved in with BitPay in particular is getting charities and nonprofits to accept donations in Bitcoin. Makes sense, right? When someone's donating a currency or donating, right, they want to make sure that they're secure in donating. They don't want to give funds to an organization and feel like their identity is going to be compromised. They also want to be able to see where the funds are going. Bitcoin is pretty transparent in that regard. You can trace every single transaction. Another element too is that they want to know that the entirety of their donation goes to the cause. It's a crime when we donate to organizations and, larger scale credit card companies take out 2 to 3 to 4 to 5% in transaction fees. So when you're donating with Bitcoin though, and even for using a payment processor like BitPay, the percentage of transaction fee is 0%. And of course I mentioned this buzz phrase before as well, global financial inclusion. There are people around the world who don't have the privileges that we have. For those of you sitting in the room, I am sure probably 100% of you have bank accounts. If you don't have a bank account, you're choosing not to have one. There are tons of people around the world who do not have that privilege and opportunity to even have a bank account. Bitcoin promotes global financial inclusion, also empowers individuals around the world who have been told, nope, you can't have access to finances, or nope, because you're this gender or this race or you live in this part of the country, you can't have access. It's a shame, right? But we have a tool to reach those people now. Again, money remittances, absolutely huge in helping and empowering the third world. There are startling statistics talking about if we save a certain number of percentage points, we're going to save billions of dollars for people who absolutely need those funds. Bitcoin is making that happen as we speak. And then obviously, we know this. Bitcoin is an efficient payment gateway. If any of you have seen a Bitcoin transaction happen, it's very, very clear. Very efficient payment gateway. So to touch on global financial inclusion just a little bit more, when I first learned about Bitcoin, I just kind of thought, okay, everyone's bank accounts, we all use credit cards. When you start to realize how many people don't have access, the statistics are startling. Bitcoin cuts through social, economic, gender, geographic borders. More people around smartphones and running water so that we can reach those individuals. Bitcoin promotes inclusion. The World Bank put out a statistic a few years ago that 2.5 billion people are underbanked or don't have access to bank accounts. Why is it that we live in a day and age where I can be doing a remote presentation to you guys, and at the same time, there are people who simply do not have financial access? Bitcoin provides this global financial access without a surcharge. Another element of Bitcoin is really empowering people around the world. So there are a lot of women who have been told, because you're female, you can't have access to funds. You can't have access to your bank account. Or specifically in Afghanistan, a lot of women are told you can only have access to your bank account if you go and sign up with a bank account with your father and your brother, and then you can only access that account when you go with another male. Well, the Women's Annex Foundation is actually changing this scenario. The Women's Annex Foundation is basically an organization promoting digital literacy to women in Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iran and Mexico actually. And what they're doing is they're empowering digital literacy with digital currency. So the CEO of Blockchain Info, Nick Carey, had this great quote about the Women's Annex Foundation. He said, "The Women's Annex Foundation is a pioneer in using Bitcoin as a payment system in developing countries. For reasons of safety, convenience, and cost, we believe the digital currency movement will help." So that's how I think about using this digital currency to empower these girls and women. And in fact, one of the greatest things is you can donate a Bitcoin to the Women's Annex Foundation. The Women's Annex Foundation then uses those Bitcoin to pay women in Afghanistan, in Iran, in these countries, and then those women can actually spend those Bitcoin for Amazon ebooks, for Skype gift cards, get connected to the global ecosystem. So this is just one case study of Bitcoin reaching people around the world. Let's look at remittance a little bit closer. For westernized countries to earn more funds to send money back home. Well, here's some examples. Sending money transfers to East Africa have extremely high rates. Sub-Saharan Africa suffers from the highest cost of transfer fees globally, about 12%. What Bitcoin does through services based on Bitcoin is to cut banking fees, cut unfair exchange rates, and also cut lengthy delays. So here's a statistic I was mentioning that the World Bank put out. World Bank stated cutting prices, so prices and remittance fees, by at least 5 percentage points can save up to $16 billion a year. So let's look at these numbers. 12% is what a typical sub-Saharan Africa transfer fee is. And if you cut that by 5%, okay, you do the math. Well, a service like BitPesa is actually changing the dialogue. BitPesa has a 2 to 3% transfer fee, guarantees same-day delivery, and also expedient, secure savings opportunities for people receiving the funds. That's a 75% savings, and if we go back to the statistics, we're saving about 10%. So that's what? Almost $40 billion a year savings. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what Bitcoin can do. So you can see just how the system works. The sender either earns Bitcoin, you can earn Bitcoin through BitPay's payroll API, or they earn US dollars, they cash it into Bitcoin, they send it to BitPesa, and BitPesa converts it into local Kenyan currency. This is one of many examples. So, on to, beyond just implications for the rest of the world, how is Bitcoin applicable to your life today? So I want to just delve in a little bit deeper into what we do at BitPay and Bitcoin in particular for the merchant and the consumer. So you can see here our website. We've got, just an opportunity for you to quickly sign up to accept Bitcoin. You can also see some of our main partners. One of our main first merchants was WordPress. We also have Virgin Galactic, Gift, Newegg, Namecheap, Shopify, Tiger Direct, countless more, and we have some exciting announcements coming out soon. So BitPay really allows merchants to easily accept payment in Bitcoin and also donations in Bitcoin. Why, again, would, you have a mom and pop coffee shop or you are Tiger Direct, why would you want to accept payment in Bitcoin? I mean, just going back to the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned the benefits of Bitcoin. Again, lower risk. There's no risk of fraud or chargebacks with Bitcoin. Lower cost. 0% transaction fees. How can you beat that? Credit cards take up to 2 to 3% transaction fees. I can't see you guys in the audience, but how many of you, you can raise your hand or I'm sure chime in, how many of you guys have actually, I can see some people now, how many of you have seen a sign at a coffee shop which says, okay, $5 minimum fee if you want to buy something with a credit card? I'm sure a lot of you have seen that. It's a pain, right? And it's a pain for merchants. So Bitcoin alleviates that problem with the 0% transaction fee. Also, this allows people to sell globally with borderless payments. Okay, so why BitPay and what is BitPay?
BitPay is the largest global processor.
Hold on. Hold on, Elizabeth. Just a minute. Something happened with me. We're back. Oh, we're back. We're back.
What? We are merchant focused. We're really heavily focused on the processing angle. We're wallet neutral. We have no costs or fees at all. This is a free service that businesses can use to start accepting payment in Bitcoin. We settle next day in US dollars, euros, and countless other currencies. The merchant never has to hold onto the Bitcoin or risk exposure, and we have banking partners globally. So BitPay and payments processing. Again, world's largest payment processor. What I really want to highlight is the ability for a business to, say, get $100 worth in Bitcoin and then get that $100 back. So it makes sense to process payments in Bitcoin with BitPay just for the very fact that you're always going to get more back than any other traditional payment method. And again, there's no risk for the merchant. We incur the risk, we incur the volatility of the currency. When the price of Bitcoin fluctuates, the merchant doesn't need to worry about it because they get 100% back from US dollars or 9 different fiat currencies. So a little bit more about BitPay and kind of our history. We were founded in 2011 by Stephen Pear and Tony Galippi. They got this idea, both of them were friends from Georgia Tech, and they decided, you know what, we want to look further into this Bitcoin currency. And they filled a void in the Bitcoin space in the merchant processing angle. Well, 2011, and now we're here today with over 40,000 merchants. We process up to $40 million in US dollars a month. We have 80 plus employees around the world, including in San Francisco, Atlanta, New York, Amsterdam, myself in DC, Buenos Aires, Tucumán, and we're growing. It's just a very exciting time for BitPay, and specifically the Bitcoin ecosystem. So again, why do merchants like Bitcoin? And if you have a business yourself, or if you are considering having a business, why would you like Bitcoin? Again, no transaction fees. You go to 3 to 5% to 0%. No risk of chargebacks. That's a huge savings. Top line increase, so you have a new revenue stream to tap into. I mean, why not open up the door to new customers around the world? And the Bitcoin purchasing power is simply growing. We're still a small ecosystem, which I'm sure some of you are realizing, but we have a purchasing power of $8 billion. Some of our key, prime and premier merchants are Tiger Direct. They went live in the US in January 2014, and then in Europe and Canada in 2014 in June. And they stated we are very pleased with our BitPay implementation across other sites, and also Newegg as well. They've expanded into Canada. So here are some of our main merchants embracing Bitcoin. One of my favorite is actually Greenpeace, a charity. Greenpeace decided to start accepting donations of Bitcoin in September. They're leading the way with charities in Bitcoin, and we have others coming out very soon. We've got WB Records, Newegg, ESPN, Rakuten, Virgin Galactic, Global Payments, Shopify 9 Plus. These are just some of our key merchants. And some of our marquee clients, again, some of our higher volume clients. And then also we're involved in the retail scene as well. And this is just a glimpse of some of the smaller scale and larger scale merchants, but we have countless merchants. So here's a little bit about Bitcoin and BitPay technology. So as you can see, we build our system on top of Bitcoin. And then we have our BitPay platform. And Bitcoin, in essence, again, I want you to get this in this presentation, that it is beyond just a currency, but it's a platform for further technological development. So you can just see from this all the different applications that are built on top of the Bitcoin protocol, beyond what BitPay is. And again, BitPay reduces the risk. So you might think from today, okay, this currency is new and it fluctuates in value and there's different opinions from regulators on Bitcoin. Well, the idea is with BitPay is just to be able to accept it, but not even have to hold on to the currency. So in essence, you can be accepting payment in Bitcoin, but not even having a Bitcoin wallet. Again, we have exchange and exchange systems set up with 33 different countries, different banking relationships, and a lot of really cool tools. And finally, we have a freemium pricing model. So what does that mean? Again, $0 to start up an account, 0% transaction fees, and then of course opportunities for larger scale merchants like Newegg and Tiger Direct to buy premium support, so 24-hour support and things like that. But again, it makes sense financially, there's no risk at all, and it's just a cool opportunity. And very, very exciting, you can actually get paid in Bitcoin now. So I don't know how many of you have ever thought about that, but it's a really cool opportunity to be able to save, but also be able to spend your Bitcoin. We have what we call payroll API now, just another technological development based on Bitcoin, and employers can now pay their employees in Bitcoin, take out all the taxes and all, and it's a great way to just get Bitcoin. And most importantly, our latest announcement, this is just going to show that Bitcoin is becoming more mainstream, and also we were thrilled for BitPay for this sake, but Arthur Levitt, the former and longest-serving SEC chairman, Securities and Exchange Commission's chairman, joined BitPay's advisory board this week. And he also joined another Bitcoin company's advisory board because he's interested in Bitcoin, and he's always been on the cutting edge of technology, but you know that Bitcoin has something going for it when, again, the former and longest-serving SEC chairman joins the board of a Bitcoin startup and is speaking out very loud and clear in the media on Bitcoin and the applications and the potential for this currency. So now I would love to take any questions you have. I just, again, want to highlight that this is not just some, what I would say, a nerd currency or something on the internet. This is a movement towards social, political, and economic freedom, and it's an opportunity for you as attendees and as students to have a financial future and to get involved in the global ecosystem and, in essence, in turn, to help people around the world. You can always also email me if you have follow-up questions. I can be reached at elizabeth@bitpay.com. So yeah, any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So, Elizabeth, I will ask the questions to people here and give them the microphone. If you can't hear them, we can repeat it for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. You have questions?
Yeah, I'm very curious. You know, this all sounds great, but you're saying that there are no transaction fees. How do you make your money? Because I mean, you've got a lot of employees and just a little freemium thing, $300 a month or something. I mean, how do you generate revenue?
BitPay is venture-backed. We just raised another $32 million in funding back in May. We also do have to liquidate our coins. So that's an opportunity for us to make some funds. We hold on to Bitcoin, and then again, we do have those premium services that we offer to larger scale merchants. But again, we're really focusing on helping the little guy, right? Small businesses. And as we grow the Bitcoin ecosystem, that's just good for BitPay. So we're trying to increase as possible. And again, we have those premium services, right? But even before we went to 0% transaction fees across the board, we've always been 0% for nonprofits and charities and educational institutions. And then on top of that, we were only 0.9% for processing fees. So that 0.9% really isn't that much anyway. So it's like, why not go to 0% processing?
Okay, I'm still not clear where the revenue comes from, but...
Big guys, Tiger Direct.
Venture back, you hold on to some of the coins, we have to liquidate our coins, and we have premium services that we provide.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
In your world, how much activity do you see going on overseas and merchants opening up, local stores, in third world countries and that kind of space besides, just kind of the U.S. or kind of Western world?
Absolutely. I think other countries are even more ripe for Bitcoin. And I thought a lot about this in terms of just the banking issues. One of the things that I'm passionate about, again, is the global financial inclusion issue. And I keep on thinking, so why are we going to continue to help and support banks try to reach people in third world countries when they haven't been able to do it for years? And we have a technology now where we can reach people and people can have businesses and get funds internationally and have global e-commerce without a bank account. I mean, that's the phenomenal thing about something like Bitcoin. In terms of just around the world, so for humanitarian purposes, let's face it, we all know what's going on with Ebola, and it's a terrible situation over there, but there are groups that are actually raising funds in Bitcoin, and in essence, having that as a revenue stream. That's one example. I mean, even things like microloans, microfinance, and then in other countries too, where there's uncertainty with the banks. We have offices in Argentina for a reason. I mean, the situation over there with inflation is terrible, and so there's a desperate need. And then obviously, I mean, in Europe too, there's just an interest in Bitcoin. It is completely global, and that's the cool thing about it. Certainly in the U.S., it's more, I think, commonplace. More merchants are in the U.S., but it is growing internationally.
More questions?
I have a question regarding stolen coins. Do you track coins that are spent through your system that come from addresses that have been involved in hacks or something like that? And if I happen to have my own wallet funds stolen, could I report that to BitPay and would you block that? So, and how many transactions do you block per day?
You said stolen coins? What?
Yeah, I believe you want to know if you track coins that might have been stolen or people have reported.
Yeah, so just to be clear, with BitPay, we are just a merchant processor. We are not an exchange at all. So all we do is businesses sign up to accept payment in Bitcoin, and then they just receive payouts in a fiat currency. We're not an exchange, we're not a brokerage. There are, brokerages and exchanges out there. We don't at all, in essence, sell Bitcoin to individuals. In terms of just Bitcoin in general, I think the biggest thing, there have been, bumps along the road in the Bitcoin ecosystem, but what people are learning more and more is just to learn how to secure yourself financially with Bitcoin, so to secure your Bitcoin with multi-signature wallets, cold storage, different hot storage options, so you don't have an issue where you're keeping all of your coins in one place. And, just the very fact that we have the former SEC chairman on our advisory board and who's interested in the Bitcoin ecosystem shows that there's further look into, customer protection, customer security, and that's all very, very important. But in the end of the day, Bitcoin is very individualistic, right? You're in control of your finances. You're the one storing your coins. No one else really has access unless you give out your password and your private key. So it's up to the individual to be very careful where they secure their coin. Lastly with that, I keep you guys, if you are interested in getting involved in Bitcoin, have backup storage places. So don't just keep Bitcoin on an exchange unless you're planning on, say, cashing out quickly or doing some sort of a function of trading. So I don't know if that answers your question.
I also have a question. Do the merchants just record the transaction and report it as cash since they never touch the Bitcoin?
It honestly depends on, what payout settings they have. If it is, 100% stuck in fiat, yes, they treat it like cash. We don't provide also tax advice. I mean, this is up to the merchant. This is just we provide a technology, right, for them to receive payouts. They have all of the, payer and customer information, and also donor information in their merchant dashboard. We have services to collect and capture all the information that they choose to collect. But yeah, and that's, if they're not holding on to the points at all, they choose to hold on to the points, it's a different story. And we do have merchants who hold on to 100%, or they hold on to, say, 50%, or even just 2%. It's honestly on the merchant to make that decision.
I think there are regulations about you can't sell alcohol for barter. Do merchants run into problems like that accepting Bitcoin? You find?
So, so we're entering into a new phase in the Bitcoin ecosystem where we have different states putting out guidelines and rulings. Just recently the governor of California firmly declared that Bitcoin is legal in the state. You've got things like BitLicense going on, so it's still, almost state by state. And again, we're just processing the payments. The merchant has to know and decide what they're going to look into and if they're going to receive payouts in a fiat currency or not. And to preface, I am not, a tax expert, but what I can say is, if you are a business wanting to accept payment in Bitcoin, of course, do your due diligence and look into the issues. Right now, it's fine. You can receive 100% back in cash.
Any other questions?
So what country you're located in as well.
All right, well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Again,